The U.S. Navy operates the most powerful fleet on the planet, 11 aircraft carriers, dozens of nuclear submarines, hundreds of warships patrolling every ocean. But here's the thing most people get wrong. The true backbone of that entire fleet is not the carrier. It's not the submarine. It's a steel warship that's been sailing since 1991, armed with 96 missiles and built to fight in any war, anywhere, at any time. It's called a destroyer. And right now, there are 74 of them active, more than any other combat vessel in the Navy. Today, we're going deep on why destroyers are the backbone of the U.S. Navy and what they've already proven in real combat, in real wars, just in the last 2 years.
These aren't glamour ships. Destroyers don't get the Hollywood posters. They don't get the big-budget movies. But ask any Navy admiral what ship he can't afford to lose, and the answer is the same every time: the destroyer. Specifically, the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, the most produced U.S. Navy warship in modern history. The ship that guards the carrier, hunts submarines, shoots down ballistic missiles mid-flight, and strikes land targets hundreds of miles away, all from the same hull. If you've always respected the men and women who serve on these ships, type proud in the comments below. This video is dedicated to them.
What exactly is a destroyer? Let's start at the beginning, because a lot of people think destroyers are just medium-sized warships that sail alongside carriers. That's like calling a Navy SEAL just a swimmer. A modern Arleigh Burke-class destroyer stretches 505 feet long. That's nearly 2 football fields of steel, armor, and firepower. It displaces up to 9,700 tons, heavier than many older cruisers. It carries over 90 missiles in vertical launch tubes sitting flush in the deck, and it moves at over 30 knots, powered by 4 gas turbines generating 100,000 shaft horsepower. What makes destroyers genuinely unique is what they can do all at once: anti-aircraft warfare, anti-submarine warfare, land strike missions, surface combat, ballistic missile defense. No other surface ship in the world does all 5, and does them well. That's not a warship, that's a one-ship navy. The class got its name from Admiral Arleigh Burke, a World War II destroyer commander so aggressive in battle he earned the nickname 31-Knot Burke for refusing to slow down under fire. It's a fitting name, because this class has never slowed down.
The numbers that tell the real story. Here's a number that should stop you cold. As of early 2025, the U.S. Navy had 74 Arleigh Burke destroyers active, with 25 more planned to join the fleet. The total class could eventually reach 117 ships. 117! That would make it the single largest class of modern warships ever built by any nation. To understand why that matters, consider this. The U.S. Navy has 11 aircraft carriers. Each carrier strike group requires multiple destroyers to function. Those destroyers aren't optional. Without them, the carrier is exposed. Without them, the strike group can't survive a saturation missile attack. Without them, there is no carrier strike group, just a very large target. The Navy has bought 2 new destroyers per year for years running. The FY 2026 budget requested 2 more at a combined cost of $5.4 billion. Congress actually approved even more funding than the Pentagon asked for. When was the last time Congress and the Pentagon agreed to spend more on something? That tells you how seriously this ship is taken at the highest levels of government. Every hull is built by one of 2 shipyards, Bath Iron Works in Maine or Ingalls Shipbuilding in Mississippi. Both have been running continuous production lines on these ships for over 30 decades. That industrial commitment, maintained across multiple administrations, multiple wars, and multiple budget cycles, is itself a strategic priority.
Now here's what separates the Arleigh Burke from every other destroyer on Earth: the Aegis Combat System. Aegis is not just a radar, it's a fully integrated battle management brain that ties together every sensor, every weapon, and every piece of information on the ship into one unified system. The moment a threat appears, whether it's a drone, a cruise missile, a fighter jet, or a ballistic missile traveling at Mach 5, Aegis detects it, tracks it, classifies it, calculates an intercept, and fires a response, sometimes faster than the crew can fully process what happened. The radar that feeds Aegis, the AN Spy-1D on older ships, the brand new AN Spy-6 on the latest Flight 3 destroyers, can track hundreds of targets simultaneously across a massive area of sky. The SPY-6 is so sensitive, it can detect a threat the size of a baseball traveling at hypersonic speeds. That's not a marketing claim. That's what the Navy has stated in its own procurement documentation. The weapons that Aegis fires are equally impressive. The SM-2 handles conventional air threats, aircraft, cruise missiles. The SM-6 extends that out further and adds terminal phase ballistic missile defense. And the SM-3? Well, the SM-3 does something that used to be the stuff of science fiction. It leaves the atmosphere. It flies into space and intercepts ballistic missiles during their mid-course flight, above the Earth, using a kinetic kill vehicle that destroys the warhead by sheer impact. And this isn't theoretical anymore, but we'll get to that in a moment.
5 missions, 1 ship. Here's the part that most people don't fully appreciate. When Navy planners look at their destroyer fleet, they don't see one type of weapon. They see 5, all packed into the same hull. Mission 1, Carrier Escort. Every carrier strike group needs destroyers. The carrier is irreplaceable, and it has almost no ability to defend itself against a saturation attack. Dozens of missiles coming from multiple directions at once. The destroyers form a defensive ring around it. They shoot down the missiles before they get close. Without destroyers, there are no carrier strike groups. Mission 2, Land Strike. Each destroyer carries Tomahawk cruise missiles in its vertical launch tubes. Tomahawks can fly over 1,000 miles and hit a specific building with near-precision accuracy. When U.S. forces need to strike a target deep inside hostile territory without risking a pilot, destroyers get the call. They've been firing Tomahawks in combat since 1991. Mission 3, Anti-Submarine Warfare. Destroyers are equipped with powerful sonar systems, anti-submarine rockets, and can carry 2 MH-60R helicopters purpose-built for hunting submarines. In a future conflict with China or Russia, finding and neutralizing enemy submarines will be one of the Navy's most critical missions. Destroyers are the primary surface platform for that fight. Mission 4, Surface Combat. The destroyer carries a 5-inch naval gun capable of firing 20 rounds per minute. It carries anti-ship missiles. It can engage and destroy enemy surface vessels in a direct fight. In a naval engagement, it's not just a defender, it's an attacker. Mission 5, Ballistic Missile Defense. This one has become the most strategically important role in the last decade, as Iran, North Korea, and other hostile nations have expanded their ballistic missile arsenals. The U.S. destroyer has become the forward shield between those missiles and American allies. Destroyers are now stationed in the Mediterranean, the Pacific, and the Middle East specifically to intercept ballistic missiles before they can hit their targets.
Now, here's where it gets serious, because this isn't history. This is last year. In October and November 2023, USS Carney was deployed in the Red Sea. Houthi militants in Yemen, backed by Iran, were firing drones and missiles at ships passing through one of the world's most critical shipping lanes. Carney shot down at least 3 cruise missiles and 8 drones in a single engagement on October 19th. Over the following weeks, she and other destroyers kept knocking threats out of the sky, night after night, in live combat operations. On December 30th, USS Gravely shot down 2 anti-ship ballistic missiles fired directly at her and a nearby commercial vessel. One of those missiles came within 1 mile of the ship before the Phalanx close-in weapons system destroyed it. Then came April 13th, 2024. Iran launched a massive direct strike on Israel. Over 300 drones and ballistic missiles fired in one night. USS Arleigh Burke and USS Carney were positioned in the region. They fired their SM-3 interceptors and shot down at least 6 Iranian ballistic missiles.
This was the first time in history the SM-3 was used in real combat. Not a test, not an exercise, real enemy missiles, real intercepts over real civilian populations. On October 1, 2024, Iran struck again. USS Bulkley and USS Cole fired 12 SM-3 and SM-6 missiles against the incoming ballistic threat. These ships didn't just watch, they stood between American interests and a hostile nation's missiles, and they won. That's what a destroyer does. That's what the backbone of the Navy looks like in action. Flight 3, the most advanced destroyer ever built. The Navy didn't stop evolving. The newest generation, Flight 3, represents the biggest leap forward in destroyer capability since the class was launched. The lead ship, USS Jack H. Lucas, was commissioned in October 2023. What makes it different? The AN/SPY-6 radar. This isn't just an upgrade of the old system, it's a complete generational jump. The SPY-6 can detect targets the older radar would have completely missed. It processes threats faster, it handles more simultaneous engagements, and it was specifically designed to counter the kind of hypersonic and maneuvering threats that China and Russia are now fielding. Flight 3 also has more electrical power, more cooling capacity, more computing infrastructure. That matters because the next generation of weapons, directed energy weapons, laser systems, railguns, all require enormous amounts of onboard power. Flight 3 was designed with enough growth room to carry weapons that don't fully exist yet. As of 2025, 24 Flight 3 ships have been ordered. The Navy is also spending $17 billion to upgrade older destroyers to near Flight 3 standards, giving the existing fleet a new lease on life while new hulls come off the production line. The second Flight 3 destroyer, USS Ted Stevens, was delivered in December 2025. More are being built right now at 2 different shipyards. The production line isn't slowing down, it's accelerating.
Here's the honest truth. Even the Arleigh Burke has limits. The Navy knows this. The hull design is approaching the boundary of how much power and cooling it can carry. Future threats, hypersonic missiles, directed energy weapons, autonomous drone swarms will eventually demand more than even the best destroyer can provide. That's why the Navy has been developing the DDG-X, the next generation destroyer. Larger hull, integrated power system capable of supporting future laser and railgun weapons, 50% greater range, 120% more time on station before needing to refuel, better survivability, better radar, a ship designed not just for today's threats, but for threats that haven't been fully deployed yet. First construction is expected in the early 2030s. Until then, and for years beyond, the Arleigh Burke destroyer remains exactly what it has always been, the ship the Navy counts on more than any other, the ship that goes everywhere, the ship that does everything, the backbone. 74 ships active, 25 more on the way, real combat missions against real ballistic missiles, a production line that's been running for over 30 years. The destroyer isn't a supporting character in the story of American sea power. It's the main character, the one doing the work every single day in every ocean on Earth. The men and women who crew these ships deserve every bit of respect this country can give them. If this video gave you a new appreciation for the U.S. Navy destroyer fleet, hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss content like this. These sailors earn it, and so does this story.